Hello, welcome to the weekly review, making sense of relevant topics and news. It's a program of Sawa Sawa Network. I'm Roger Alfred Yoran Mudi, the producer and host. Today our topic is South Sudanese political parties, impact, experiences, challenges and way forward for democratic multi-party system of governance. And the guest we have today, Paulino Lukudu Obede, the Minister of Information and Communication, Central Equatoria State. And he's also the leader of United South Sudan Party, USSP, which is part of the revitalized agreement on the resolution of the conflict in South Sudan, and they're part of the government under the power sharing arrangement. And also we have Ambassador Emmanuel Aban Ajawin, the leader of National Democratic Movement, NDM-Patriotic Front, that is NDM-PDF. He's also the Secretary General of SSOMA, South Sudan Opposition Movements Alliance. And they are out of the agreement, despite that there's a process going on through the Rome Peace Initiative. Welcome to the weekly review, gentlemen.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Well, to our audience, I would like to start with a quote. Here it is, quote, "Political parties are essential institutions of democracy. By competing in elections, parties offer citizens a choice in governance. And while in opposition, they can hold governments accountable. When citizens join political parties, volunteer their time, donate money, and vote for their leaders, they are exercising their basic democratic rights. Participation of citizens in political parties offers unique benefits, including opportunities to influence policy choices, choose and engage political leaders, and run for office," unquote. That is a quote from National Democratic Institute, which is a non-profit, non-partisan, non-governmental organization that works in partnership around the world to strengthen and safeguard democratic institutions. Now, looking into our situation as South Sudan, our constitution guarantees those freedoms, the freedom of assembly and association, including the right to form political party or join political party and protect your interest. The preamble of the Constitution also provides that the South Sudanese are committed to establishing a decentralized democratic multi-party system of governance in which power shall be peacefully transferred, and to upholding values of human dignity and equal rights and duties of men and women. Straight to you, Paulino Lukudu Obede, as the minister and also somebody who is leading a political party in South Sudan. Tell us how is it going so far with regards to those rights and your impact?
Yeah, thank you very much to host me today in this program, and I really appreciate to be part and parcel of this program in particular. Several political parties are here in South Sudan, and you can categorize them, both the registered and unregistered political parties, but the process of registration of the political parties is well articulated in the revitalized agreement. And currently, the process is a transitional process in which both the registered and unregistered political parties who are signatories to this agreement are part and parcel of this government as per now. And on the basis of the political parties' perspective, I've seen and I've been part and parcel of the political discourse in the country before the peace agreement, before the revitalized agreement, and before even the previous agreement of 2015. And I know the political environment that we are operating in requires a series of the political dispensation in which we will inject a new democratic values to South Sudan, which is non-violently, of course, to ensure that we have an influence on the decision-making of the leadership, and as well as we will be keeping the citizen informed of their political rights, and as well we will have influence on how the government has been running and how the government is run, so that there will be a healthy political competition between the parties which are oppositions and the ruling party. This requires formidable political parties.
Have you been able to make impact so far? Because you are in government already and you've been having the party for some time.
Yes, each and every political party, when you take it from the perspective of the parties, each party has a program to deliver in each and every type of a ministry, in each and every time of the position that they will be handling in the government. And on my own perspective, as currently the Minister of Information and Communication, a party also have views of how they wanted information communication to look like, especially in terms of the of the position where I am in now. And it is not only the party policy, but the public policy towards the institutions. And the impact will be realized as soon as
Hello, we are not getting you. We did not get it. There was a problem in the network. Could you just conclude? Because hello.
Yeah. Yes, every political party has a programs. It can be in the terms of the manifesto on how you want the government institutions to look like in terms of the information communication, in terms of agriculture, in terms of the governance system in general. So by being in part and partial of a particular institution in the government, which means there is some of the common good influence that you will have in this ministry, that you will have in a position where you are. Apart from this one, the public view towards how they want the position you are in to look like is very important. That impact will be done together, of course. It is not just bringing the policy of the political party particularly to the ministry, but it's also getting the public views on how the institution to look like. That is where the accountability and transparency come in.
Let us welcome Ambassador Emmanuel Ajawin. Emmanuel, your party, National Democratic Movement-Patriotic Front, which split during the peace process in 2018, and you left that agreement to, you are not part of that agreement, and then now you are part of another process. But now, in addition to that, you've been influential. You've been very popular on social media, especially expressing what you believe in. Tell us the impact your party is being able to make, since it is not bound by the laws in South Sudan, it is not registered in South Sudan, but you've been operating as a party and still in the peace process in Rome, you are still included in the peace process. So tell us, how are you making those impact?
Thank you, Brother Roger. From the outset, first of all, let me thank you personally, and also thank Sawa Sawa Group, and also let me greet my brother, Honorable Paulino, Lukudu, who is in Juba. And I am very pleased and honored to be with you here today and to have this political discourse among us, which is important. The issues and the concerns of the political parties in our country, be it inside or outside, are the same. We are looking towards creating a democratic, viable republic, called South Sudan. And if you look back to the genesis of the political parties in the history, be it on the modern Sudan and South Sudan, the first ever political party that was formed by South Sudanese, it was in 1953, the Liberal Party. That was formed by our pioneers, three of them. One was Abdurrahman Sule, who came from the Equatoria, and you had Santalas Payam from Barghazal and Bodjo. These were the parties, the first party that ever formed in 1953 in the modern Sudan. And later on, you have the Southern Front, led by those of Agri Jardine and Uncle Joseph Uduo. You have SANU, led by William Daniel, and many other parties. And other Southern Sudanese also, they joined the Communists and other Northern Sudanese parties. But what I'm trying to say here is the focus. What were the main objectives? Most of the political parties that were formed in our country, they were kind of reactionary parties that were formed so that South Sudan could attain a certain status, a political status in the geographical space called the Sudan. So it was not really political parties per se in a classic sense of what you have read in your abstract earlier and your introductory remarks of forming a party so that you could sell the political objectives and the program in terms of development and so forth, and for the people to vote on it. South Sudan never had that kind of chance where they could really form political parties and for people to vote on their political program so that they could take over. Now you come back to 2011 when South Sudan became independent. What happened? Basically, you had a party that was a revolutionary movement, and up to now is not even, we don't even yet know whether it has even formed itself into a party. It's still calling itself Sudan People Liberation Movement. So I keep on saying it is a party in the wrong country, because South Sudan now is an independent republic. But you have a ruling party in South Sudan that is still ascribing itself with the neighboring country called Sudan. So you could see that the political parties, from the essence and from what my brother Paulino have said in terms of having clear program objective, they have never had that chance. They have never had the chance to develop it. So the people in South Sudan, really, we have not really had the chance to even develop the political parties based on political ideologies and philosophies, and for it to be even tested in elections where people will choose the party with the coherent or political objectives that appeals to them. So saying that we are still a revolutionary parties, even us in NDM, National Democratic Movement-Patriotic Front, we are actually struggling to create an environment, an enabling environment, where my party and other political parties will be able to participate. In our country now, the democratic atmosphere is not even there. Even my brother Paulino, Lukudu, they are not even given the opportunity, for example, to go and hold rallies and mobilization, you know, and mobilize the people and mobilize the people behind their political objectives, because there's no political environment that has been created. But we hope that in the near future, when there's really true peace in our country, the political parties will be allowed to germinate so that they're able to sell their political ideologies, their political philosophy, you know, far from the fear and intimidation by the national security. This is what we hope for. And democracy cannot flourish under a dictatorial regime, a regime that is really obsessed with the control of the messages of other political parties. So we are hoping to struggle for that kind of our country. So as now, most of our political parties are just revolutionary movements, not political parties.
In those revolutionary movements, have you been, in your party specifically, have you been able to put together structures or realize diversity, political pluralism, and embrace inclusion?
Yeah, we do have the structures. We do have the structures. We have the structures. First of all, the National Democratic Movement-Patriotic Front. We ascribe to the political philosophy of the social democracy. You know, social democracy is a philosophy that we ascribe to. We think that our country, as it is now, South Sudan, needs certain intervention and a partnership between the what you call the business class and the government. So we need to work in partnership. We believe also, in order for the South Sudan to be able even to economically develop, the government must be in the heart of the industrialization, be it agricultural industry, be it light industry, and so forth. And we believe that through that we are able to generate revenues that are necessary to provide free education, free health, you know, and be able to build the infrastructure that's required for social development in our country. This is what we ascribe to as a National Democratic Movement, Patriotic Front. But we hope that we will be able to sell these political ideas to our people, and we've been having a lot of Facebook series on the political ideology and political objectives of our party. And we hope that in the near future we are able also to participate in the political environment in our country and be able to sell our ideas. Yes, we are a democratic, because democracy within the party, Roger, is very important. Because of lack of democracy within the party, that's why South Sudan and the SPLM political party went into crisis in 2013 between Dr. Riek Machar and Salva Kiir, because of lack of democracy and also the tolerance of one another within the political party. So what you need to do first is to have a democratic discourse within the political parties in South Sudan.
Paulino, let's get to you. You are part of the agreement being implemented in Juba, and you are part of the government. Yet, you said your party, among those that were registered before, since in the Old Sudan, and it is recognized as a registered party. The agreement on the resolution of the conflict in South Sudan, the Reweters Agreement, provides for some reforms in the Political Parties Act 2011, and that includes a provision which says within 6 months of the signing of the agreement, the reconstituted National Constitutional Amendment Committee shall review the Political Parties Act 2012 and ensure that the Act complies with international best practices for free and democratic registration of political parties in South Sudan, and shall present a draft bill to the National Legislative Assembly for adoption through the Minister of Justice and Constitutional Affairs, and that the Act shall permit open registration of parties. Now there are parties that are participating in the revitalized agreement, but they're not registered. It means if the agreement expires, they can also be gone together with the agreement. As somebody who is part of the agreement, you have been silent on those issues and the implementation of those parts that are important for having an environment for political parties to be able to operate. What would you say with regards to that provision? And
I wanted to disagree with you with the word you said we've been silent on this provision. Indeed, we need this provision more than anybody, as a political parties, of course. And if you look at the Political Parties Act, the Political Parties Act is amended by the National Constitutional Amendment Committee. They invite all the registered political parties so that they will have their inputs on the Political Parties Act, and we give our input as parties. So the Act is currently in the Ministry of Justice and Constitutional Affairs, waiting the reconstitution of the Parliament. What we can do is to advocate for the speedy reconstitution of the National Parliament so that those acts will go to Parliament, and the Parliament will go through the readings in the Acts to pass it and become, as the Act or the laws of the political parties. Indeed, we need political parties, not movements, not armed movements, because our people have been in the verge of the civil war since, let me say, since the independence of Sudan, 1956, up to this day. People are tired of any type of violence, but violence become an option to other people because the political environment was not encouraging. The political environment was not that environment that political parties will participate freely. That's why some people opt to take violence as a means of addressing some issues. But some remain, like us who remain in Juba, we said we can address some of the issues non-violent way. So each and every party has the different rights, of course, but we need political parties more than the armed movement. And indeed, freedom is not free. Freedom will not come in a silver plate or in a silver spoon. Freedom, you will always look for it. If you need freedom of association, it is guaranteed in the Constitution. Freedom of multipartism, it is guaranteed in the Constitution. So if it is not implemented, you will not sit on your chair and wait for the freedom to come to where you are. You must get what you want through stepping up and say, it is my rights, it is in the Constitution, and I need to do this. You have to do it because it is guaranteed by the Constitution, multipartism and the liberalism and every kind of thing. But I want to be very much sincere with you and the listeners to this program that South Sudan needs leadership, and the leadership from within, so that we change things from within. Because the problem of South Sudan is not outside South Sudan. The problem of South Sudan is inside South Sudan. So we must be part and parcel of developing that atmosphere, the environment together, all of us, those who are outside and those who are inside. Let us give a room so that we'll sit on the table and discuss the problem of South Sudan together, generally, so that we have leaders that know the meaning of sacrifice of the public service.
The review you talk about that was done on the Act and waiting discussion in the Parliament and approval is true, but the Parliament, which is supposed to pass that bill as per the agreement, is the National Legislative Assembly, not the revitalized one. So now we've seen calls for dissolution of the Assembly. Even this week, the officials, I saw one official talking about dissolution of the Assembly happening soon. So you can see the two. What is going to happen in that scenario?
The reconstituted Parliament will discuss the bills so that these bills become as a laws.
That's not what the agreement said. That's not what the agreement said. That's it. The agreement said the national.
If the Parliament is dissolved today, which means we'll expect the Constitution, of course. And this Parliament, the current Parliament, I'm telling you, which is expected to be dissolved any time from now, this Parliament is not the Parliament of the peace agreement. To be sincere with you, the Parliament is not the Parliament that is of the other assets.
It's actually illegal. It's actually an illegal Parliament. You're right, yeah. Honorable Police. Illegal Parliament. The Parliament that's supposed to be there is the constituted Parliament.
Yeah,
the difference is,
Roger. The difference is those review of the act and other things that were supposed to be done, they were to be done during the pre-transitional period. So that one missed out. They didn't do it. It was supposed to be done during the pre-transitional period to allow the parties to be able to register as the transitional period starts. So you can see the
transitional, when the executive is formed, that is when the parliament is supposed to be reconstituted according to the agreement. So the executive been running without the legislative wing, okay? The executive been running without the legislative wing for some time now. And what we want currently, the executive will be in conformity with the legislative assembly, and the assembly will be the constituted one, so that the laws will be taken to the parliament. Okay, the laws will be taken to the parliament. That is the parliament whereby you will have the representative of the parties to the agreement in the parliament. That is, and they will have views. They will have views on. Dwelling much on who to do it. Why not the pre-transitional parliament? The pre-transitional period has already elapsed since the formation of the revitalized government. Anyway, so the option is to have.
We can move on. We can move on. The point was only that the review was to be done within 6 months of the signing of the agreement, and the transitional period was 8 months. 8 months was 8 months. So that one missed out. So once you don't implement the agreement as it is, there is possibility that becomes the precedent, and things keep going.
I agreed with my brother Emmanuel Ajawin. I agreed with Emmanuel Ajawin.
Yeah, let's go
in regards of internal party democracy. Okay, in regards to internal party democracy, problem of South Sudan is lack of internal party democracy within the political parties. Most of the political parties. That's why the views of the members of the parties, it become very hardly to be expressed from the party within. That's why they go outside. And when they go outside, they disagree. Like the African proverb said, when the elephant fights, the grass suffers. So what is very important is that a new political dispensation in whereby the freedom from within the parties will be guaranteed, and the parties will compete from internally, and they will go and compete externally from the parties level. So this requires a lot of work from all of us, all the political parties.
Ambassador Emmanuel, tell us the stance, the views of your party on achieving those dreams, the way forward for democratic multi-party system of governance. As enshrined in the constitution, the Transitional Constitution, which is the independence constitution of South Sudan, and also in terms of the peace processes that are going on, what you hope to achieve in making sure that
I think this is a very important question, Brother Roger. This is a pertinent question. First of all, our country has been in transition for the last 10 years. Transition to most of us is still more than 3 years. But our country, our life actually as South Sudan has been in transition, by the way. 2005, a transitional period of 6 years. Now we are going to 16 years of transitional period. We don't even have yet a permanent constitution. What constitution you are referring to is an interim constitution that we have. But what is the way forward? The way forward, in order for us to create an enabling environment for democratic transformation in our country, there are certain things that need to be done. First, we need to really resolve the issue of governance in our country. What kind of federalism do we want? We in the opposition, especially in SSOMA, we believe that we want a federalism where the states are empowered economically and politically. We are not for the ethnic federalism as advocated by the government and the regime in Juba. We want federalism where the states will determine their own economical lives. They will have their own separate political entities, as long as in accordance with the constitution of the country. We don't want the states where the president will intervene, dismiss the governors, the way they want. That will actually be a travesty to the democratic notion itself. That is one, the issues of governance. The other, and also we think that the presidential system in our country is not helpful, my brother Roger. The presidential system has created a tyrant and a dictator. And what it is, you are building powerful individuals rather than building powerful institutions. So we believe that in order, especially as the National Democratic Movement-Patriotic Front, that in order for South Sudan to really move from these politics of violence and politics of bandit, we need to go and form what we call the parliamentary system, where we have a prime minister coming from the party with the largest number of MPs in the parliament. Now, why is that? The prime minister will be close to the parliament because the parliament is the supreme body in the country, you know, and the prime minister will be answerable to the MPs who are the representative of the people. They have been elected by the people and they represent the people. We want the prime minister to be answerable to the parliament. We don't want a sleeping president where nobody calls him, but it's the other way around, where the president comes and said, well, if you don't vote for my bill, all of you will be in the street without jobs. No, we don't want that kind of president who can intimidate the People's Assembly. Therefore, we are actually advocating for having a parliamentarian system in South Sudan, where Prime Minister is then the parliament, he is the executive, and he runs the government and is answerable to the people in the parliament. If people want to have a presidential system, let the president be just a head, a ceremonial president, not a president with constitutional and powers as we have today. That is terms of governance. The other issue that is important for us, so that we could have an equal leveling ground and we have the confidence of the people in the system, is the establishment of a national security apparatus, the army and the national security. There must be nationalistic in character and composition. What do I mean by that? The diversity of people of South Sudan must be represented in the national army and in the national security. As we speak today, we have a tribalized so-called SSPDF, and we have a tribalized national security. That is not good for democracy, because when you have a tribalization of important institutions that are supposed to be the protectors of the constitution itself, and it cannot be left to one tribe or two tribes to protect it. But it has to be the people also.
The agreement in Juba, the Rivers agreement provides for those reforms and changes there. And
it does theoretically, Brother Roger, but we're going to 3 years now, nothing is there. We still have, we don't even have amalgamated forces. There's no new national army. Look, the 8-month pre-transitional period, what was it meant for? It was meant to graduate a unified national army and national security, so that they could be deployed in the major cities like Wau, Juba, and Malakal. And that will create confidence and create the enabling environment so that the people could come from the POCs, from the refugee camps, and go back to their homes. As we speak, the government in Juba is being selective. It's only implementing the provision of the national security, of the security arrangement that suits them. Which means what? Which means up to today, we don't yet have a national army. And I call what you have in Juba is a militia, a tribalized militia, coming mostly from one single tribe. That is not a country we want. That's not the country South Sudanese fought for. And that will not be a conducive environment for democratic humanization. That is antithesis of democracy. Because what happens tomorrow? If Lukudu, wala you, wala me, Emmanuel, Shuluk, wala Mundare, wala Bare, win an election, okay? And you have an army that is Nuer or Dinka in terms of composition. What will happen? You will have a coup. We have examples like that, for example, in Burundi. In Burundi, you have the Tutsis, who are the majority in the army of Burundi. Whenever an election is held and a Hutu comes as the president, there's a coup. Okay. You heard that in Nigeria, from the House and Fulanis in the north. So what I'm trying to say, there's a need to restructure the national security so that you provide an equal leveling ground for everybody. Nobody will be intimidated. Then we can talk about creating a conducive environment.
Those visions you've enumerated from the issue of governance, federalism, and all those limiting the powers of the president or having even ceremonial president only. They're interesting, but how do you get there? Because your party alone possibly may not be able to achieve that. Are you like collaborating with others they have similar views, they have similar understanding, or they also the people you're engaging in?
Of course. That's why we're in an alliance like SOMA. We know that you can't do it alone, but an idea has to start from somewhere. You know, when the idea of Christianity started, it did not start with 10,000 people, by the way. It was Jesus and his 12 disciples who started the idea of Christendom. Now we have billions of Christians in the world. So an idea has to start somewhere. We are starting the discourse, and we are talking to the people of South Sudan. It is not I or Lukudu or Thomas Cirillo who will come and say, well, by force you have to accept it. You must develop a consensus by creating political mobilization. You must debate. why the prime minister is better than the president, than the presidential one. Then we debate with the people of South Sudan, full of consensus. That is the way we think we can achieve.
Paulino Lukudu, your party has been in operation for years, like you said. Tell us the experiences, the challenges you experienced. Have you been able to expand? Have you been able to gain more members? Have you been able to have diverse members across South Sudan, especially as per the requirements of the law, like the Political Parties Act and the Constitution that needs diversity?
The Political Parties Act is very clear in terms of the registration of the political parties, of course. The Act says you need to have 500 members from each state, at least from the 80 states, for you to qualify and register as a political party in the Republic of South Sudan, in which we have managed to get the members and registered according to the Act, and we have a certificate. We are party number 9, which registered out of the 14 registered political parties. But the problem is not only the registered political parties. The problem is the political environment and how the influence of the political parties into the political system in the country. This is what we need to look into. We've been facing the problem since the signing of the CPA. Since the signing of the CPA, political problem in South Sudan is the militarized politics. Militarized politics, whereby a person who is in the political party is the same person who has a high-ranking, who is a high-ranking officer in the army. And it seems like the new norms now. It is keep on growing. We were experiencing that one from the SPLM before SSPDF or SPLA will be divided from the SPLM. But after achieving peace, we're supposed to go for real political dispensation in the country, whereby the army will be separated from politics and politics will be separated from the army, so that we will not politicize the army and the army will not politicize the politics. So currently it is a mixture. Even if you look at the movements, whether they are in the country or they are outside of the country, you can see the same scenario continues. And this is what we've been fighting for. Are we making a change whereby the same person is a high-ranking officer in the army and the same person is a high-profile person in the political party? Which face will you show to the public? And this is what we are facing. We are fighting this to ensure that we go for a real democratic process, whereby you choose to be a military officer or you choose to be a politician, so that election will not be threatened. You cannot go for a political for political competition or fighting for a political position and lobbying or rallying with somebody having a military background. There is always a man with a gun behind, and you without gun behind is the problem, and that is what we are facing. That we need to change this. We need politics separated from the military and military.
And in terms of getting the public, in terms of getting the citizens into a party, how has it been going? Has it been possible, like holding rallies, for example? Earlier on, Ambassador Emmanuel mentioned the issue of holding rallies and doing political activities. Yes, Emmanuel. No, not Emmanuel. Honorable Paulino, are you getting us?
So are you getting me?
Yes. I was saying, what is the lessons? What are the experiences of your party in terms of engaging the citizens to join your party or to listen to your agenda and to even hold rallies, like Emmanuel was saying that
I got your views. You know, the Political Parties Act is very clear. Once you register as a political party, you have rights to issue statements. You have rights to conduct rally. You have rights to do whatever you want it to do, regardless of the political environment in the country. We have our own office. We are operating as a party in our own office here in Juba, and some of the offices in some of the states. We are doing what we can do as a political party, of course, because your rights is in the law. And if you want to do a rally, you have to do it. And we did so many political engagements. We did so many political engagements, seminars, workshops, and all this.
Except rallies. Right? Except rally.
Rally, because we are part of the alliance, you know. as a party, a member of the alliance, you have to conform with the rules and regulation of the alliance where you're coming from. USSP is a member of the National Alliance of Political Parties, like the same thing like NDM-PDF, which is a member of SSOMA, and there is parties which are members of SAWA and all this. So if you are a member of alliance, you confirm rules and regulations. So you don't go parallel. But there is some other perspective at the level of the party that you can do it at the level of the political party alone.
So the alliance,
I want to.
The alliance doesn't accept you to do rallies.
Oh, no, it is the alliance which will come with the program of a rally, not an individual party within the alliance. It is the alliance that will think they want to do a rally, and the rally will be in the name of the alliance, not in the name of the individual political parties or members of the alliance. But this is the environment. The environment is this. All of us.
Let us. Okay, you conclude. Then we'll go for a short break because yes.
Yes. All of us to ensure that for us to have a very good governance system, security, and all this requires our collective responsibilities and work. Collective responsibilities as parties, as a political parties, to tell the public that this is how we want to view South Sudan. This is how we want South Sudan to look like. This is how South Sudan will look like in terms of the economy, in terms of governance, in terms of security, in terms of a social cohesion, in terms of social and everything, so that we will win the trust of the public, and we will give them powers, the powers to elect their leaders.
Well, let's go for a short break. Let's go for a short break, then we continue immediately. Welcome back from the short break. This is the weekly review, making sense of relevant topics and news. My name is Roger Alfred here on Modi. I'm the producer and the host. With me in the studio, Paulino Lukudu Obede, joining online, is the Minister of Information and Communication, Central Equatoria State, and also the leader of United South Sudan Party, USSP. And also Ambassador Emmanuel Ajawin. He is the leader of National Democratic Movement, Patriotic Front. NDM-PDF is also the Secretary General of SSOMA. Well, Emmanuel, let's hear from you your views on issues to do with alliances and parties in conventional manner, because you said yours is revolutionary up to now because you're operating outside the country, but there are those that are in terms of having democratic space, and we've seen even in other countries the alliances and parties are able to do rallies and do their own activities. So in terms of managing alliances and having parties operate in a conventional manner, what are your views on those?
No, thank you, Roger. I think you are really touching very sensitive topics that will require even 4 hours, because the topic that we are talking here is actually, these are the gist of the matter in terms of the democratic transformation that we want within the parties. You know, alliances, especially in South Sudan, is the new phenomena in terms of be it in the opposition or in the government. And there are a lot of problems with the alliances. There's also a misconception of what an alliance should look or should be. You know, alliance, it means, is a free will by a group of political parties or organizations coming together, you know, agreeing on certain program, having common denominator for them that brings them together. Like, for example, Sawa. Many of us worked hard in Addis Ababa, I remember in 2018, between January and February, to try to bring all the political forces that were opposing the regime into an alliance. It was not an easy task. We worked hard, IO was there, everybody was there. And it coincided that we were trying to bring the alliance and the peace talk was going on. So what we used to do, as we are still drafting the charter, we will go to the peace talk with a common position. Suddenly, when we came to the power sharing formula, you know, IO started speaking differently from the known aspect of how we used to do things, because they felt that within the alliance they're the biggest guys, so they should be getting the lion's share, and that also affected their contribution later on when we finished drafting the charter of the alliance. Madam Angelina and Honorable Henry Odor, who were the representative of the Iowa at that time. When we came to adopting of the charter, the SPLM-IO chickened out. They said that in order for them to join the alliance, they have conditions. One, the Equatoria must be the leader of that alliance. The second is that it shouldn't be an alliance, it should be a political forum, which means it's actually something smaller where we come, we talk, just shop, the talking shop, and then everybody goes. We said no. So you could see that the political alliances in South Sudan is viewed from what will my party get, what lion's share will my party get, rather than looking at it from the strategical point that in South Sudan now, there will be no one party takes it all. South Sudan is moving to the politics of alliances like in Kenya. So in order for you to win elections in South Sudan in a free democratic environment and a free and fair election, you must be able to have alliances with other political forces from different regions so that you create an umbrella that is nationalistic, that is reflective of all the political, of all the people of South Sudan. So to answer your question, being in alliance does not also stop any political party from carrying on with their own activities. Like for example, my party, National Democratic Movement-Patriotic Front, we are a member of SSOMA, but it does not mean that we actually stop doing our activities as NDM-Patriotic Front because we are members of SSOMA. Of course not. There are certain issues in terms of as a party we can do, and there are certain issues that we feel we need to, to consult with our colleagues, in the alliance. So alliances should be looked at from a strategical point of view. But of course, every party has its own perspective how they look at the alliance. Some of them will look at it from the tactical point of view, what they will gain in the short terms. But to some of us, for example, in SSOMA, we look at it as a strategical alliance, that an alliance that is not only opposing the regime now, but we hope even when we come later on and achieve a peace agreement and there's a change and we have an agreement with the government in Juba, we will have also continue having alliance of SSOMA, maybe broadening and bringing other parties in. So to us, the strategical alliances that we hope is what's required to bring the genuine transformation in our country.
Honorable Paulino, your party, for example, right now, part of the agreement, and the election stipulated in the agreement, if it is going to happen, we don't know if it happens as per the agreement. But before that, currently, how do you view things in terms of, the experiences? The last elections we had in 2010, there were intimidations and irregularities here and there. And your party now, do you trust that there will be open opportunities for you people to participate in the elections if it is going to happen without those infringement on your rights as political parties and political leaders?
Since the formation of the revitalized government, let me start from the last point of Brother Emmanuel about the issue of the alliances. After the signing of the 2015 agreement, there were only two alliances by then. The National Agenda, led by Dr. Martin Ilia Lomuro, who is also happened to be the leader of SSDF, and the National Alliance, which was headed by Dr. Lama Col, who happened to be the leader of SPLM-DC that time. And currently, the leader of the National Alliance is Honorable Cornelio Con, who is the leader of NUDF, National United Democratic Front. And this is it. Coming as alliances, there are things that you can do together, and there are things that a party can do individually. In regards to the agreement and the ideologies that you share with the alliance, and your ideologies that you don't share with them, you can do not even only on that, but even in position papers. There is some of the points that you may not agree with in the position paper, and as a member of the alliance, you will opt not to sign that position paper to show that you don't agree with some certain issues in the alliance, but the views of the majority always prevail. That is democracy. And coming to the issue of elections and the political participations, my party has been doing a lot of things in Juba in terms of activities of the parties. We have a work plan each and every year as a party and in this work plan, the party is implementing it. And currently, we are working by this week. We will establish something called a public desk in the party, whereby this public desk, the party will make it open for the members of the public to raise concerns in regards to the issues affecting the public. And I don't see any intimidation in what we do as a party. And since there's the formation of the revitalized agreement, we've been operating, doing many things. I don't see any intimidation. I don't see any sabotage. And we are doing it fluently. If we launch the public desk this week, you can see it, even in the media, you can see what the party is doing in terms of advocating and pursuing the rights of the people, especially the rights of the public. And this public desk is to link the public with the party and the party with the government.
Okay.
And I don't see the trouble in that.
But rallies only, except rallies.
We never tried to rally as a party, but I believe if we try it, I will give you the answer if it was easy or it was not easy. But we never tried of having that.
It's okay. Emmanuel, let's hear from you on the issue of the contribution of parties, whether political parties in the country and on those outside, in prolonging the war in the country, because we've seen this cycle. We've been here before. A peace agreement going on, and then others pull out, others from same party becoming factions, or from the same alliance splitting into different parties and going on. This has been happening. We've seen even recently there are new parties that came up splitting from other parties or alliances. So with regards to parties or this issue of being able to become a party, whether in the country through the laws of the country or just outside, expressing yourself as a political party or revolutionary and so on. Don't you think there's a kind of exploitation of the opportunity of the situation? The war is already, of course, a stepping stone. People see it as grounds already, because there are grievances everywhere. There's already there are grounds for people to continue here and there. Yeah. So you see that in terms of the parties and what should be done to break the deadlock, because we cannot just continue like that while other countries are developing and all this. So we just rotate.
You know, formation of political parties is a competition of ideas. First of all, I am, the supporters. I am a supporter of people having many parties, because it actually shows the health that we are having a healthy debate politically. So forming political parties, even if it's 100, as long as they have political ideas and program, there's no sin behind it. Now, on the issue that the people are profiting from the war and making political parties, I disagree with this kind of assertion. First, we have a dictatorial regime in Juba, and we have a dictatorial party that has been sitting on the people of South Sudan, that have been looting the resources of our country. They have forced the war on us. None of us chose to be where we are today. I was a diplomat doing my job, I didn't want to be a politician, but we are forced by the circumstances in our country, to choose either to keep quiet or to stand up for our rights and fight and struggle for a new transformation in our country. So the political forces or the political parties or the political movement that is sprouting in the country is actually a national reaction. It's a national reaction to the failed policies of the regime and the tribalistic policies and fascistic policies of the regime in Juba. It's not because people want to benefit. No, of course. Everybody would like to be in Juba like our brother Paulino with his party, and mobilize. If it is free, we have political rallies. Thomas Cirillo comes, I come, and we go to the Konyo or to Stadium Juba and talk to the people freely without the national security visiting us at night through a known gunman. This is the environment we want. If it is there in our country, many of us would have taken that route, But we know, of course, the SPLM party is actually very allergic. They're very allergic to democracy. Leave alone, Brother Roger, democracy where Emmanuel has a party or Lukudu has a party. But even look at the SPLM itself. When Victoria and those of Pagana, Muma, Dengalor, and Madame Rebecca, when they disagreed with President Kiir about the voting, whether the voting within the party should be by the ballot or should be by the show of the hands. What happened? The whole country was thrown into a tune of a civil war. a civil war that have caused us so far 500,000 South Sudanese dead, 6.5 million displaced. So who's responsible? No. It's the SPLM with their suffixes, be it SPLM-IG or SPLM-IO. So the political parties are not formed in South Sudan because people want them to be so, or people want to use the political party as a forum. It was actually a reaction, it's a natural reaction to the oppressive policies of the SPLM ruling party in the country and the policy of excluding others. Brother Paulino, of course, is being diplomatic, but who will follow around in Juba, you know, and then come out clearly and criticize the government of Kirmiyadi? Even Riek Machar, the first vice president, he cannot even go to church and make political commentary, leave alone holding a rally as IO. Have you heard about them holding rallies since they have signed the agreement? Political rallies where they will come and talk openly? No, of course, my brother, because in Juba, you hear a political party, you sit down, and as long as you're not a threat to the SPLM, you're good. But if you're a threat and you speak, then you're in trouble. So our country is far away from democracy, and it will take a lot for us to really have a really serious democratic atmosphere in our country until the SPLM party is out of power or is actually completely reformed. And I think SPLM, my brother, unfortunately, is too deformed to be reformed. So we may need to take it out.
Well, we are almost to the conclusion, and here's my final question. Paulino Lukudu will start by answering. Tell us, how do we break this deadlock of parties contributing to, parties contributing to prolonged war? We've seen, with party split, then there's peace process and there's this and that. So using parties, how can we use parties as tools for democracy and rather than prolonging war? And also, how do we pressure the government to respect the rights of political parties? In conclusion, what do you say about that, so that we break the deadlock of this continued violence?
When you say government, and when you become government, you become part and parcel of the sum of the treaties, whether regional treaties or international treaties. And if you start taking from the regional treaties of the African Union, there is agenda of silencing gun completely. Internationally, also there is idea of silencing gun, especially on UN, United Nations Security Council, some of the resolutions. Guns is not an option. Violence is not an option. And if you look at the parties which are inside the country, signatories to the revitalized agreement, and those who are not signatories to the revitalized agreement, almost 99% are signatories to COHA, Cessation of Hostilities Agreement, which means all of us agree that violence is not the way that we can run the country forward. It is only through democratic process. This democratic process can come as part of the mediation from the countries that we sign treaties with them, countries that we are members of them, of course, and internally also from people who are neutral. Like we have seen some churches has helped in the reconciliation of the political parties. We have seen some countries, like IGAD countries, become part of the mediation in our civil war. And we have seen some international communities, the Troika and the rest, have stepped in to solve the problem of South Sudan. So peace comes from within. Peace comes from a need that we need to develop a forward-looking nation. A forward-looking nation that does not determine to repeat its history, because our history has been a dirty history as Sudanese and as South Sudanese from 2013 up to this stage. So we need a country that move on from that climax of violence. And like you mentioned in the beginning, there is the issue of circle now, which we need to deal away with it. Circle of peace, war, peace, war, peace, war, continuously like that. When should we have a democratic process if the option is between peace and war? We need an option whereby citizens will be involved, the people will be involved in the process. And this requires all of the political parties to offer room for a dialogue. We need to sit and dialogue and issues out. Some of the things, to be clear and sincere with you, some of the issues will not be solved by the political parties, will be solved by the people of South Sudan. It will be solved by people of South Sudan through free and fair democratic elections. Political parties alone have a limited power.
Well, the internet seems to be having a problem.
Installed as they are, the workforce as they are. We need to engage. So we need to engage people into this process. And by engaging people, it means all of us should find a room for a dialogue and sort out the issues affecting South Sudan so that we will have accountable government, we have good governance, we have a culture that committed to expansion of the freedom and rights, and a country that promotes justice and fairness.
Okay, let's hear from Emmanuel. The issues are three, Ambassador Emmanuel. Political parties becoming more, positive aspect, contributing positively towards peace and non-violence, rather than political parties being in the circle of recurrent, continued conflict, and also pressuring the government to respect the rights of political parties as enshrined in the Constitution, and also breaking the deadlock of violence, because as a country, like, completely, this cannot be the status quo all the time we've been. So what are your views on those three issues?
No, thank you, Roger. I think these are issues that are important. To break the vicious cycle of what is going on in our country, you need a comprehensive peace. And what do we mean by comprehensive peace? Comprehensive peace means addressing the root causes of the conflict in the country since 2013. What went wrong? So we all have to agree on it and have the political will to implement what we have agreed on. So if we can do that, then we will avoid this vicious cycle. This vicious cycle that you see today is a reaction, is a chain reaction of the failure to implement any political accord or agreement that people reach. Because once you don't implement the agreement, what happens? People react, they get disappointed, people go back to square one. But what I would like to see in politics and in the political parties in South Sudan is that I would love to see a country where the political parties have political ideologies and philosophy that are clear. Let differ on the political ideologies. Let us differ on the political programs. This is the healthy environment, or this is a healthy prescription for any humanization of true democracy. The political parties, certainly in South Sudan as we see today, many of them are just there, as a source of looking for employment. Because government, being in government or being a minister is the only job you could get. There's no private sector that is there, and people could aspire to go there and make money. Politics become unemployment kind of opportunities. And we need to discourage that. Politics should be an arena where we develop ideas so that we could become the servant of the people, not masters of the people. See, this is different. In South Sudan, people are trying to be masters. The politicians are trying to be masters of the people, rather than, civil servants or, people who want to serve the people. So there's a need to develop a political ideology so that we differ on political ideologies and programs rather than on personalities. The other thing that is important to enshrining and protecting, and helping in the humanization of a conducive democratic environment in our country is the establishment of constitutional court. Many of us, when we were in Addis Ababa negotiating, because I was one of the negotiators for the NDM at that time in Addis Ababa, I participated in the peace process from 2017 December almost to May, before it was transferred to Khartoum. There's a need to have a constitutional court, because constitutional court is where the individual rights, the right to assembly, the right of association, and any other rights are protected. Now in South Sudan, there's no constitutional court. So for example, if you have a problem, you're being denied rally, your rights are being trampled on, where do you go? The courts that you have today in Juba, we know them. They're not neutral. The courts in Juba are highly influenced by the executive. So what we need to do as one step towards democratization in South Sudan is to develop a constitutional court that will protect the Bill of Rights, as enshrined in the Constitution. That will be a step towards a proper democratic process, because as it is now, the atmosphere is not conducive. The National Security Act, it gives the National Security the right to arrest any individual and hold you for 6 months without even a warrant from a sitting judge. Now, if I am Emmanuel, I go for political rallies and I say things that are anti the regime in Juba, the national security can come and pick me up, and lock me for 6 months.
Those issues actually have been handled in the revitalized agreement. It's only the implementation.
My dear brother, there's nothing. It's not handled in the agreement.
The
agreement does not.
Especially
let me finish.
The constitutional code.
The agreement does not. No, agreement. Yeah, constitutional code is there, but of course, I told you, I was a member, so I knew what is there in the agreement. I was a member of the peace talks. But I'm talking about the security powers of the national security. The national security powers have not been curtailed by the agreement. Okay, they still have the full, and that national security and the powers they have is actually a detriment to the democratic process in the country, because that national security is being used by the SPLM, as if it is just a wing of the SPLM as a political wing. As Paulino has said it, those of Wanihiga, for example, and those of Mial and those of what's his name, Paul Manyang, they are generals, active generals in the SPLM, or now SSPDF, and they're also members of the SPLM. How do I, for example, Emmanuel, I don't have army, will compete with such people in election? They have wings in the army. So if they fail in election, they will use the army against me. So there's a need to demilitarize, South Sudan politics, And who is to blame for it? These dudes in SPLM, These dudes in the SPLM, they cannot see the essence of linking themselves from the military, because their main power and the source of power does not emanate from the people. Their power emanates from the gun. So therefore, even in democratic discourse, they would like to keep the guns. That is why they cannot separate the SPLM from the army and the national security.
And here we will definitely pick it up there, also including other leaders from other political parties to continue the discussion and try to just make sense of what's happening and then be able to push our country to the right direction. With that, we've come to the end of the weekly review. My name is Roger Alfred Heron Modi, the producer and host of the program. We've been looking at South Sudanese political parties inside and outside the country, their impact, experiences, challenges, and way forward for democratic multi-party system of governance. And the guest who joined me via video call is Minister of Information and Communication, Central Equatoria State, and also the leader of South Sudan United Party, Paulino Lukudu Obede, and also Ambassador Emmanuel Aban, Ajawin, the leader of National Democratic Movement-Patriotic Front, NDM-PDF. He's also the Secretary General of South Sudan Opposition Movement Alliance, the faction being led by General Thomas Cirillo. Sorry, I forgot to mention that because I forgot to mention that in the beginning. That
Thomas Cirillo is not. He's not the leader.
Malong also has one.
He's not a leader of SOMA. We are a council of leaders, so we are not led by Thomas. He's just a member of the alliance like anybody else.
Okay, apologies for that also. But yeah, popularly people know that faction where Thomas Cirillo belongs, and that is that faction where General Malong belongs. So there are two factions of SOMA, and but I thank you very much, the two of you, for this contribution to the program and to the public.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Okay, bye.